Welcome to the Always Better Than Yesterday interview sessions. I am your host, Ryan Hartley. This channel exists to inspire and encourage your heart-centered leadership. Each week, I share interviews with some of the greatest heart-centered leaders in the world. I hope our time spent together helps you leave a heartprint where those around you are left better than yesterday. Please visit abty.co.uk if you would like us in your corner. These interview sessions are brought to you by Matt Media Online Marketing, an independent agency who specialise in content marketing, helping business owners get their message seen by the right audience. If you want to get your business seen through the power of social media, head to mattmedia.online. On episode 224, I'm joined by Elle Seline. Elle is a singer-songwriter, mental health worker and a model. With her own lived experiences of trauma growing up, Elle uses her platforms unapologetically to raise awareness of current issues and stigma surrounding complex mental health diagnoses and bullying. In 2021, Elle made history as the first woman to compete in Miss Great Britain Makeup Free and win a title. Her stance was a symbol of women's rights, choice, and the dangers of social media for young people. On the back of this, Elle continues to visit schools and colleges across the UK to mentor young people and speak her truth to inspire and educate others. It's a great conversation, one that I hope that inspires the beauty within you and gives you permission to bring that to the world. It's episode 224 with Elle Seline. Elle, welcome to the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very well. You and I connected through a good friend, Justin Court. Ironically, Justin's over in Florida and he's connecting two human beings in England. Whereabouts in the world are you?
So I'm in Surrey, in the Surrey area, near London.
Yeah.
Anyone doesn't know where that is.
Is that where you grew up?
No, so actually I grew up on the island of Skiathos. I believe you know somebody that knows you.
Yeah, this is honestly, tell me this story. This is crazy. So I'm in the corner of a wonderful lady called Zoe. And I think as a post recently, you were like, oh, I know Zoe. I'm like, what?
Yeah, so long story short, I'll try and keep it short and sweet. So I was adopted from Romania when I was one. And I was brought to Greece from my family now. And I grew up there, Mamma Mia Island, Skiathos, if people don't know where that one is. It's quite a tourist destination. And Zoe's family live on the island, and they're really good friends with my mum and dad. So I've known Zoe's family since I was like a baby, and Zoe's most probably picked me up and as a baby, and they're quite good family friends actually. So to see Zoe comment on that was like, oh wow, small world. But I came to the UK when I was 10 to attend boarding school, which is hence the accent. And I've been here ever since. I've been in Guildford. I was actually schooled in Wiltshire, which I think is where you are. Yeah, see, connection with you there as well. Got a mutual friend on Facebook as well.
Right. I love this.
And so I've been around the UK quite a lot. So moved to the UK, moved to Wiltshire when I was 10, left Wiltshire when I was 18, and then came to Guildford, Surrey, and I've been here ever since. Loving life, living the dream.
So were you at boarding school in Wiltshire?
Yeah, I was.
So that'd have been Stonor School?
No, it wasn't.
No.
It was at Warminster School.
Warminster. Oh, I thought there'd be another connection then, because my granddad used to work at Stonor School. But I just love how
we used to do swimming galas. I recognise that name because we used to be at their school for swimming galas.
So funny, funny. Well, you know, the more I journey through this life, the more I'm like not surprised by stuff. Like it's so much like awe and wonder and how the vastness of the world, and then you can just pop up on a comments. Oh, hey Zoe, how are you? And I was like, what is life?
It's cool. It's cool.
But I really believe that this web of good people connect good people with good people. It's really kind of like, it was a nice like affirmation. Like, good people. You got good people in your circle.
How do you know Zoe?
So Zoe and I connected through another good friend, Abby, who is my community manager, and so Abby had done some work with Zoe in the photography and in the business around, showcasing her wonderful, like Abby has a heart for people that, do good food, and obviously bringing the Greek vibes over as well. It's just, Yes, so Zoe's part of our Master Heart and Mind. So she's one of our heart-centered leaders that we get to journey with every week. And
Nice.
yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
That's awesome. Huh. Such a small world. But
So
yeah.
you were on Justin Court's Spread Love Movement podcast, which kind of got me aware of you and who you are and what you stand for. And I'm really conscious not to go straight for the obvious conversation starter. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not even going to tease that. But I'd love to know that this journey around, you know, particularly Romania, with Greece, with England, like, I think culture does a funny thing when we're kids around shaping who we are or who we believe ourselves to be, whether that's through lack or love.
Yeah.
And you haven't had your typical upbringing. And I guess, what did that do to your sense of who Elle is?
Well, the start of it, I believe, is one of the main reasons I have borderline personality disorder, because being in an orphanage for like nearly a year of my life, no attachment, not much support or attention or anything as a child, as a baby, not even as a child, as a baby. And those 12 months of attachment are so important for the child. I didn't have that, unfortunately. And back in that day, Romania was a difficult time, as I'm sure you remember from being alive before me. And yeah, there was nothing. There was nothing there. There was nothing for my family at the time, who were also Romani Gypsy, which is kind of cool. They had nothing. So they did what they could for me. And I'm very grateful that they did that, because I wouldn't be here talking to you now. So where the start in life was quite difficult, I was always given so much love from my family now. Like my mum and my father, and I've also got a brother. They've always been really supportive, and it's all I've known. And I'm very lucky. I was cultured, you know, I was taken on holiday, Bulgaria, Morocco, you name it. I've been on holiday with my family. So when I came to the UK to study, I'd already been really cultured. I already knew a culture. I already knew different people. I wasn't coming into like a small town in Wiltshire not knowing that, you know. And that was kind of hard for me, because a lot of the kids when I started didn't know culture. So I was coming in accepting everyone, being everyone's friend, and everyone's great, everything's great. They were not like that. So I was kind of, I guess, a target for bullying, and a target for, because back then we weren't talking about mental health. We weren't talking about different cultures, different colors, different people. So I was quite a big target for, unfortunately, for bullying and for, I guess, discrimination of my culture, discrimination of me, you know, of my, at one point I was one of the darkest kids in that school, believe it or not, because like I said, it wasn't a London school where you've got different cultures. It was in Wiltshire in the middle of nowhere. If anyone knows that area, it's quite secluded in a way. So yeah, I came to that, and it did affect me quite a lot. So growing up with borderline personality disorder undiagnosed was hard as well, because I didn't know, my family didn't know, because it wasn't a thing. The school assumed I had ADHD, and I don't have ADHD. And it was quite difficult growing up in that environment, because my family was still in Greece. I had close family in the Bristol area, like my uncle and that were there. But in the school, my brother, you know, when you're young, your siblings don't really hang out with you. So, you know, it's kind of like, you're not cool enough to hang out with me. You know, my brother's a bit older, so he was like, nah, you know, he would protect me if I needed it. But of course, you know, when he was out with his mates, he wasn't gonna be like, hey, come on. So I felt quite isolated. I felt quite lonely. And we had like one counselor between like all of us. And that wasn't, as you can imagine, that wasn't substantial either. And being in the school as well, I was at the boarding school I stayed there overnight and stuff, and you never got to switch off properly. You never got to like have that time with your family, or if something bad happened, I didn't have my mum or my dad to go, this happened, and give me a hug. I didn't have that. And coming from the orphanage, going back to that, and then going to the school and not having that family unit again, it was, again, the abandonment was, I felt it harder. And I knew in reality it was a great opportunity. The education system in Greece isn't as good as the one in the UK. So yeah, I'm grateful that I was able to have that opportunity. But at the same time, it did affect me as well, quite negatively, in the way that I perceived myself. Yeah, I didn't, because a lot of people ridiculed me, I started to believe what they were saying. And unfortunately, I was also subject to a not very nice behavior from some of the guys there as well. And it wasn't very nice. It was unfortunately sexual assault, and the school didn't really do anything about that either. And it was a very difficult time, but I don't want to say it shaped me for who I am, because I would rather it not have happened, but it's given me the experience and the knowledge of how to go forward in life, if that makes sense, how to how I need to heal and how I need to, because I'm not responsible for their behavior, but I am responsible for how I navigate my future, if that makes sense. I have to take that responsibility, and I want a better life and I want a better quality of life, so I have to work towards that. So yeah, it's not, my childhood wasn't great, but there was also some really good times there as well. And yeah, it's kind of shaped me, like I said, as an adult, into how I interact with people. I'm very open, as you can see. I'm very warm and friendly, and I think my experiences and that haven't stopped me realizing that there are good people out there. Like you said in the start, there's always good people around, and there's nasty people everywhere, and there's also good people. And I'm a firm believer of that I've now surrounded myself in my circle. I've only got good people in my circle now. And when I was younger, I really cared of so much what people thought. I was so scared of like being judged, and I do believe that came from the bullies in school and the people that weren't very nice to me. Like I just felt I had to be accepted by you. And even going into college, into Guildford, when I moved to Guildford when I was 18, and I came to the ACM, the Academy of Contemporary Music, I felt like I had to put on this show for people, and it's taken me a long time to kind of not do that. And I still sometimes do it. I catch myself and I'm like, what are you doing? Why you don't owe these people anything? And it's been a long time coming. Like I'm not where I want to be in my life yet, but I'm definitely better than I was when I was younger. Sadly, I got into drugs and alcohol when I was, I want to say 14, 15, when I was in school, because it was the only way I could mask reality. It was the only way I could like get away from what was going on in my mind and get away from it. Kind of switch off, and there's my cat, kind of switch off and be someone else for a bit. But yeah, like I don't regret my decisions. I don't regret what I've done. But yeah, I wish I didn't have to go through what I went through, but I'm here now. Do you know what I mean? And like I said, I'm very lucky. I've got my family's support. My family have always been such a big support of me. Whatever I wanted to do, they were behind me. So there are a lot of positives through a very negative time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's really powerful, and thank you for being real. Thank you for for going there and being able to share, because I think one of the sad things, I've got two children. I've got a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, and my 8-year-old is a daughter. And I try not to worry about things. I try and have this faith that they will be provided for, they'll be taken care of. But there's the reality of life, and sometimes kids can be mean.
Oh yeah.
And I interviewed a guy called Dr. Gordon Neufeld, who wrote a wonderful book with Gabor Mate called Hold On to Your Kids. And in it, he says that all of the kids that have been taught that they cannot be vulnerable will then treat anybody else who, like yourself, and this is what made me think of it, like yourself, who was confident, who was outgoing, anyone that isn't the norm, they treat like that, like the enemy. It's because you're showing something that I've been told I can't show.
That's it. Yeah.
So they attack that like it's the enemy, and then as a kid, it feels very personal.
Oh God. Yeah.
Hey friends, thank you for being here so far. I just want to have a heart-to-heart moment with the men. Men, are you tired of going it alone? Do you want to connect with other men who have been there, who have gone before you? Then Akira is the group for you. We know that as men we're supposed to have it all figured out, but the truth is none of us have all the answers. Well, that's where Akira comes in. Our group of successful men is here to provide you with the support, guidance and advice that you need to achieve your goals. We don't just talk the talk, we walk the walk. Our members have been through the ups and downs of life, and we've come out the other side wiser and stronger. We want to share our knowledge and experience with you, so that you can avoid the pitfalls and reach your potential. Akira is our brotherhood, a place where men can be vulnerable, share their struggles, and celebrate their victories. We meet regularly to discuss the issues that matter most to us, from career, finances, relationships, and personal growth, and we do it all in a safe and confidential environment. So if you're ready to level up in life and become the best version of you, the best version of you for yourself and those you lead, then consider joining Akira today. You can find out all the information that you need at abty.co.uk/Akira. The link's in the show notes. We're waiting for you, brother. Here we go. Back to the interview.
As a young person, especially, you want to fit in. That's all you want. Like when I was 20, I don't recognize my mindset now. Does that make sense? So like when I was 10, 20, I wanted to fit in. That was my main goal. And I dulled myself down for these people. I put myself in a corner and I put myself in a box to fit in their mold. And that's one of my regrets, actually. I wish I hadn't done that. You know, I would say things that like they said. I would pretend to like the sort of music that they did when I absolutely hated the music they like. Because I wanted to be part of that group. And it was so, and my mum, you don't believe your parents, obviously. My mum was like, your time to shine will come, like keep doing you. Like my mum's an artist, so you can imagine, you know, I've come from art. I've come from kind of like that free spirit mindset, you know. That's my family were in Greece, you know. My mum met my dad when she was in Greece, married him, told my mum, my granddad and my grandma, right, that's it, I've gone traveling, I've met a man, I'm staying in Greece, and they lived in a hut on the beach. So you know, I've come from a very free spirited upbringing, which was amazing, and coming into quite a closed conservative school, you can imagine, you know. And I being a bit darker, I have, you know, more facial hair, maybe more arm hair. And that again was like, you know, my family always said, love yourself. And I was always told that. I was always told that I'm great and I'm good enough. And then I came to that school and just tried to give that positive energy out to other people.
Yeah, and you got attacked for it.
I was put in a box. And yeah, I appreciate where you're coming from when you said you've got a daughter. You know, I can appreciate your worries and your, especially with social media as well. You know, we didn't have that growing up. It's a very different era, you know.
Well, it's really interesting when you talk about, you know, your desire to belong, your desire to fit in. And one of the things that this book says is that if we change ourselves to fit in, we will sacrifice our peace. You know, the cost of our acceptance is our peace. And it's interesting then that you talk about, you know, drugs and alcohol, because maybe they were pathways to escapism. Maybe they're pathways to peace in a way that things of the world couldn't bring it.
Hey friends, I just wanted to take a quick moment to introduce the new official sponsor of the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast, Matt Media Online Marketing. Matt Media have been involved in the production of over 100 interview sessions. I highly recommend their services. Matt Media Online Marketing are an independent agency who specialise in content marketing, helping business owners get their message seen by the right audience. If you want your business seen through the power of social media, head to mattmedia.online. You can find the link in the show notes. And here we go. Back to the interview.
Absolutely. I felt that when I did that stuff, I felt like I could be someone else. I didn't like the person I was because of what other people told me I should be like. And, you know, even growing up back in that day, we didn't have the body positivity movement, the body neutrality movement. All the clothes shops for teenagers my age were for a certain frame, and that frame's valid and enough, but I wasn't that body frame, and I didn't feel represented either in the media or in the clothing shop. So where girls my age would go to Tammy to shop, I had to go to M&S to shop because I was a bit bigger. I'd matured, let's say, early. And that was scary as well, because I could see all these girls in these lovely crop tops and I couldn't, you know, and fair enough, you know, their bodies are valid too, but I didn't feel represented, and that also didn't help me. So when I was dabbling with the drugs and the alcohol, I felt like I could forget all of that. And yeah, the problem never went away. Like, it didn't go away, obviously, I know that now, but at the time, even for those 5 minutes, I could feel peace. And because of my borderline personality disorder and because of the intense emotions I felt, and still feel, I feel like I went down that road because I wanted to escape, I guess. Then a long story short, I just wanted to escape what I was feeling, and those intense emotions made me feel like someone else. Those drugs and alcohol took away the intense emotions and I felt like someone else. And at the time it was great, but I wouldn't go back and do it now, but I wouldn't also go back and do it any different, because I've met some amazing people through that journey, you know, who are still my best friends now. You know, I wouldn't take that away.
And that's really powerful. You know, that's one of the consistent themes of interviewing so many people, is that it's not they're where they are in their life is not characterized by what's happened to them, but how they've used that as a way of either, you know, for good, for purpose, for meaning, for, you know, and it's either that these life circumstances can make us, I guess, bitter, or we can use them to fuel something better.
Definitely. I mean, if I sat there I mean, there are days when I'm so angry at what happened to me, don't get me wrong,
Right.
but I feel like the more I talk about my story and the more I'm going forward, I'm winning, and my abusers and the people that bullied me aren't. And I just have to remember that, like, of course, everyone has bad days and good days, like we're human, but when I'm having a good day and I'm feeling like, you know what, I'm moving forward, I'm talking on platforms like this about what's happened to me, that to me is using my voice for someone else that maybe is going through the same thing as I went through and didn't have that voice. And I feel like, yeah, again, like I said, what happened to me wasn't good, and I would not want that to happen to anyone. But I can't go backwards. I don't have a time machine or a flux capacitor, whatever it's called, to go back in time and change it. But what I can do is assure that I'm that person that I needed when I was a kid. And do you know what I mean? And I want to be that person, that voice that I didn't have. Because, of course, parents and family can tell you till the cows come home how you should be. Sure. You don't listen to them. If you've got someone who's out in the media representing you, it's more likely to be heard.
Here's the paradox and the irony. Your parents saying that is the exact same problem, not literal problem, but exact same example as the other side of the negative. It is still trusting somebody else's opinion.
Yes.
It's whether it's negative or whether it's positive, you're still outsourcing your confidence to somebody else. And I can see that it says self-love on your t-shirt.
I thought I'd come representing, and it's so hard. This is so hard. Self-love is so hard. I'm still learning it, and 100% you're right. I crave the validation from others, exactly like you said, whether it be positive or negative. And now at the moment I'm in therapy for my trauma, and one thing I'm learning is to talk about my feelings openly and also validate myself. That's something I've not done in years. I'm sure, you know, you've got other guests that come on and say the same thing. I always relied, like you said, on someone else. Do I look good? Am I okay? Like you said, whether it be from mum or dad, my brother, all these horrible people on the other side, I'm now learning how to just say to myself, you know what, you are good enough, you're valid. And I think one of the things I do on social media is I spread a message of positivity because I wish that message was given to me when I needed it. Do you know what I mean? I'm healing through that. You know, when I'm helping other people, I'm healing through my own issues, and I'm healing through something that I mentioned with Justin actually in his podcast was, you know, we touched upon that when you're, when you're supporting other people, you're also healing that inner child that needed the same support and healing. And I felt like that. I felt that when we said it, I nearly cried on camera. Oh my God, it's so true. And like I'm still finding that voice for myself. I'm still finding, I'm trying every day, working really hard towards a better, not a better me, but a more and healthier me.
Well, the reality is that what we're all talking about is the residue of love. So like love isn't a feeling, love is like life force energy. And I'm sure, you know, you've heard Justin say this about, but when you start to experience that, when you start to experience, so you've talked about having an understanding of where you've come from and why you felt that's compassion. Yeah. And when we give our younger selves that form of love, we can start to wrap our arms around ourselves and heal those wounds. And then to find that we're able to do that for other people, like that's healing. Yeah. And so I have a word here always put in yesterday, it's called heart work, which is when we do, you know, things in the world that we love to do in the service of other people. When we use that, not only does it feel good for us, but it heals, it sends that healing power of love through other people too. Yeah. And, you know, one of the reasons I think so many people are struggling with self-love is because they've only ever known a conditional form of love. I will love you when you look like this, you sound like this, you act like this, you have this, you do this. And if that's the only type of love we've experienced from another human being, why do we think that we wouldn't apply those same things to ourselves? So I think the world's getting to a place where self-love is important, but for many, actually, self-love is just going against a brick wall that has an inner voice that says, no, you're not. I'm not worthy of that. Where's that come from?
You believe the words that people have said to you in the past. You know, back in the day, like I said, body image was kind of, you know, I was taught to some extent that if you weren't slim, you weren't going to be happy.
Right.
And that's not the case. And I still have that mentality to some extent. and I'm still battling these demons that I have with my eating and my relationship with food because of the generational trauma that I've seen and I've been put through. And like I said, we weren't taught that everybody is valid and everybody is beautiful and everybody is okay as they are. Do you know what I mean? We weren't taught that when we were growing up. And now I think our generation especially is that generation in the middle that's going, yeah, we've got to heal this stuff before we you know, talk to our kids. Do you know what I mean? I think me, you, Justin, we're our similar generation, and we're going, right, we're not going to tell our kids what we've heard before. We're going to try and do it differently. You know, the millennial generation was the one that we've kind of broken through that mental health taboo. We're the ones that have kind of gone, it's okay to talk about this. And the generation after us, I guess, are going to reap the benefits of our work because they're going to be taught that it's okay. Generations before us, maybe not so much, but now they're starting to learn. Like my mum, she never really spoke about mental health when we were younger. If you hurt yourself physically, oh my God, she'd be like, are you okay? If you talked about mental health, it was not because she was a bad person, but because she was never taught by her family how to do it. It was always a little bit of a taboo in our family. Like we still don't, to some extent, talk about how we feel. And I'm really bad with it, believe it or not. I'm still I find it difficult to do it. But slowly, I'm educating myself and I'm supporting my mum as well in learning about me, learning about her, and just being more open about stuff. And I think it is a generational thing. I don't think it means that the generation before us are bad people. It's just they don't know any different. And it's up to us as the generation in the middle to go, this is okay. Yeah. We can talk about this. You know, therapy to other generations before us was like, you're crazy, oh my God, you're going to ruin your life. Now, I'm more than happy to say I'm in trauma therapy. There's nothing wrong with that. Getting the support, I'm taking responsibility for my future, you know? And yeah, there's a lot of people before our generation who don't believe in therapy, but actually I really believe that it does work and it does help. And these people wouldn't be studying for years to become therapists if it didn't work or didn't help.
Yeah, and it's, you know, there's some scripture that says, you know, by the fruits of our spirit will be known. And what that really means is that you'll know the effectiveness of therapy by the way that you interact with me. Do you get a more pleasant, enjoyable, loving human being or not? And inevitably, it'll be because of the transformation that we've gone through that inner healing.
Go
ahead.
No, you go on. I've interrupted you enough. Go on.
I was just going to say, one of the things that I try not to oversimplify things, but I think this is quite consistent, is that many come to the world from the inside out, which is they get then the freedom to be who they want to be, to do what they want to do, to love who they want to love. But the world doesn't want us to live that way. The world wants us to live from the outside in, which is that we've been conditioned to believe that when we have stuff, when we do stuff, when we look like a certain way, that in some way that ripple affects inwards, that we feel like a worthy person. If we look a certain way, we have a certain thing. And I think that's the greatest lie that we're ever told. I think that is a way of making a consumer and a customer of people, by making them feel like they lack, you know, energy in a drink, happiness in a meal, beauty in a product, or, you know, health in a aisle, or you know, we've been conditioned to believe that these things are outside of us. And I don't know whether this is quite controversial, but that I am slightly concerned that the next generation will take body positivity too far by labeling something beautiful, and it's still misunderstanding the root of the word beauty. I don't think beauty is of this world.
No, I feel like body neutrality and body acceptance is more healthy. I feel exactly like you feel about the body positivity movement. I feel like it's needed, yes, that, you know, but we can't always be positive about our body. Even Beyonce has hang-ups about her body. We are human. This is not reality. This is not realistic. You know, everybody has hang-ups, whether you're a Victoria's Secret model or size 10 to 12 or a size 20. We've all got our own hang-ups, and we've all got our own story and background. And I think that is what's so important. People assume that these catwalk models do not have hang-ups and they're perfect, and it's so far from the truth. You know, it's so far from that. And one of the things that is one of my pet peeves is when people say, oh, I've got a real body because I'm a size 10 to 12. and I've got
what does that mean? Yeah.
And the thing is, I've got stretch marks, but that doesn't make me any more real than someone who doesn't, and vice versa. And I just think, like you said, I agree 100% entirely with that our generation is in the middle of this going,
it's trying to account for everybody's shame and guilt and inadequacies. And they'll sometimes they'll try and elevate themselves by putting the hashtag strong not skinny. Just hashtag strong, like, you know,
don't know why that person is skinny. Do you know what I mean? There might be a difficulty or an underlying health condition that maybe makes them not be able to put on weight. And if you're seeing that constantly, body shaming is still body shaming. I don't agree with fat phobia, and I don't agree with the other side either, being just what's the word? Not very, I don't know my words, not very nice to the other side. Do you know what I mean? We are all human, we're all real women, we're all real men, we're all real people. And I just think that, I know exactly what you mean. I think body confidence is important to some extent, but body acceptance, like my body is, for me, I'm learning how to realize that my body is not just an exterior. My body has got me through drug addiction, it's got me through trauma, it's got me through so much, and it's still here now, standing, talking, you know, this is my exterior, and it's still here, and it's still survived an eating disorder, drug addiction, you name it. Unfortunately, sadly, I've gone through that, and sadly I've come out the other side, which is brilliant. But some people aren't as lucky as that, and we've got to remember that celebrate the little wins and big wins, you know. And it's just, I just think that there's so much more to a body than sexualizing it, and also what it looks like on the outside. You know what I mean? You know, you can be a beautiful 6-foot model and be an arse, a nasty person, or you could be on the other, you know, people come in different shapes and sizes, and it's not about what you look like. I feel that people do judge what people look like and how they, you know, if you see like a pretty girl down the street, you're going to go, oh, she's probably a nasty person because she's pretty. Not all, do you know what I mean? And it's, you know, it's all
judgments, and it's all our inability to see a compassionate inner self. And
or you think that this person, because they're larger, are going to be like this, and they're going to be funny or bubbly or whatever. And it's like, I just don't see that as being fair, because different people, you know, you shouldn't judge someone. It's a bit like with mental health stigma. If I walked down the street, like, people might not think, oh, she's got BPD, because I don't, you know, what do people look like when they have BPD? You don't look like, you know, you're a human. I just think there's so much there with the mental health stigma as well, and body image. It does come part and parcel together, where you assume someone's got to be a certain way. You know, I think I applied for something not long ago, and the reaction was, oh, but you're so, what was it? You're so eloquent. So still, you know, sorry, I'll go back to the doctor that diagnosed me and say, sorry, you're not. And it's just,
sorry, I didn't match your expectation.
It's the stigma. And then I've had other people say before, where I've been honest about my diagnosis in past workplaces, not this one I'm in now. I'm lucky I'm in a place that actually accepts me. But I've gone, oh, you know, I've got this diagnosis, this is what it is. And I've been told, oh, we don't think you'll be able to carry this out because of your condition. And I've gone, have I shown you that I can't do this?
Right.
And I just think that there's so much there. You know, it's a bit like, same with body image, you know, and with mental health, it does come together in almost like unison, where people just are judged on how, you know, you don't look like you have BPD, you know, or like with autism, where some people can interact and they're like, but you're looking at me in the eye.
Sure.
And it's like, there's such a huge spectrum of mental health conditions that I think to sit there and go, you know, you don't do this and you don't do that, you're not fitting the criteria. It's a bit like what we were saying at the start of our discussion, where to be something, you have to fit into a box, and we're human. Define normal. No one's normal. Like, nothing is normal. You know what I mean? That's just a myth. Everyone has their quirks and perks, and that's cool. That's what makes us unique as human beings.
Right. And now we're getting towards something closer to what beauty truly is. And, you know, I've often said to people, we don't create a life that we love by hating it. And I think the same is true of our relationships. The same is true of our bodies. We don't create a body we love by hating it. And I think when I said that love is an energy, well, love feels like acceptance. The word that you keep talking about is body acceptance, and it's that. I really truly believe that it's just accepting, and then you can take it to the next level of appreciation and gratitude, which is exactly what you just said, which is, I'm grateful for the vessel that it is carrying my, you know, my friend Mark, he says, you know, your body is more than just a brain taxi.
Oh my God, yeah, 100%. I just think it's so important. Like, yeah, I just think it's so important to, and I'm still learning it. To be, I know I'm sat here sort of preaching and like acting like I've got it all down. I don't. I'm still learning. Like I still have days where I'm looking at myself going,
real talk.
Like, but I want to practice what I preach as well, and I want to remind myself as well through these conversations that I'm having with different people on these platforms that I should be able to accept my body for what it is. And no one else is me, and I'm no one else, if that makes sense. So I'm unique in my own way, and someone else has got their own uniqueness, and that's why I just think everyone's just beautiful in their own way. Like, I don't, do you know what I mean? I think it's so important to remember that.
I think the clue is in the word beautiful. Let's reverse that. Full of beauty, full being on the inside rather than on the outside. So every time I'm like, Brooke Hartley, I say, where are you beautiful? And she says, in my heart. And I say that, I ask her that all of the time. And I think she's just like intuitively now she kind of gets it. Like, because it's so easy, isn't it, to compliment a cute little girl. Oh my God, Brooke, you're so beautiful. Like, I just love your hair. I love your pigtails. I love the way that you look. Actually, do you know what? Forget that. Like, you're beautiful in your heart. And then I think that gets us closer to the understanding. Then if we are full of beauty, then beautiful, it looks and sounds and feels like an expression of whatever's on the inside in its fullest. And I guess I'd love to now segue into this part, which I teased at the very start, which is that maybe you don't believe that beauty is in a product too, because you go into a beauty pageant without the traditional makeup. Tell us about that journey. Where did you even get this idea of entering a beauty pageant without an external support?
So back in 2019, I entered Miss Great Britain, and I entered it just as everyone else, with the full makeup, with everything. I didn't even think anything of it. There are no rules to say that you have to wear makeup in these pageants, but it's just the expectation, you know. People like to doll up, and I think that's absolutely fine as well. Either way, if you don't, you don't. You do, you do. I entered it, but I was not my full self. I didn't give the judges kind of Elle. I kind of gave them a version of Elle, a little bit like what I did in school, a version of Elle that I thought they wanted to see. So when lockdown hit, I was on my own, like by myself. I was in quite a bad relationship, got out of that, but I was on my own, and I had a lot of time to think and a lot of time to call myself out and stuff, you know. And I've been the first person to say, I've been very toxic too in the past, you know. That's something I've really had to you know, say out loud. You know, a lot of relationships didn't work out because also I was also toxic, and I was also craving this person in someone that couldn't give me that kind of thing. And you know, going back on track with that in mind, there was a lot of things a lot of home truths I needed to really think about, and being on my own and having that space to think about stuff. A lot of my trauma from childhood came bubbling up to the surface, and I called myself out, and I was like, right, I need therapy. I need support. And that's when I got my diagnosis of BPD, just before lockdown hit. So it's all quite new to me still. Then going forward, I always used to hide behind makeup. I always used to, again, I used it through school. I used it to lighten my skin up to look a bit more like the other girls. I used it throughout my time as a musician, where I'd go on stage and like, you know, and there's nothing wrong with using makeup. There's not, I cannot stress that. But if I'm using it for me for the wrong reasons, then there is something wrong with it, you know? And I was hiding behind someone, again, that I thought other people wanted to see. So I went into the pageant. I didn't place, or I didn't score really very high. And it wasn't that upset me, but it was almost like I didn't give them Elle. I didn't give them the real me. So there's no wonder that the judges didn't see who I was and saw me as like just someone else, you know? And I decided after lockdown to re-enter. And the reason I wanted to go makeup free was to also say to myself that I could do this, because it was something that I never thought I was going to be able to do. During lockdown, the pressure, especially for women to go out and show up, went away. You know, we were all in the supermarket in masks, so you weren't wearing makeup. Not a lot of people weren't, and I wasn't either, because I didn't need to, because I had, you know, the thing over my face, mask over my face. And there was something about that, and I used this in a lot of interviews. Wearing the mask for COVID made me realize I didn't need to wear the mask for the external world to love me. I was valid enough in the supermarket without it. You know, I would go to the supermarket in my pajamas, no makeup, messy hair, and I didn't care. And COVID was a really bad time for everybody. I appreciate that. But for me personally, it was the time that I needed to go, right, Elle, we need to talk. You need to sort some stuff out because this is not okay. You know, my relationships weren't working. I was craving validation through these guys who were just not suitable for me. Like they weren't looking for what I was looking for. And I was putting myself in such vulnerable positions, all for the sake of wanting that validation and love from the wrong people because I needed it and I didn't know how else to get it. And I wasn't looking at it I wasn't looking to myself to get it. And it came from the history of my bullying, the history of my sexual assault. It came from all of that. I appreciate that. But I was not being very nice to myself. I wasn't being kind to myself. And going forward, going into the pageant in 2021, I announced on my social media, yeah, I'm going to do this with no makeup on. I decided, and I'm not anti-makeup. I think makeup's an artistry. But for me personally, I wanted to say to myself, I can do this for myself, my own self-image, my own self-esteem. I can also do it for other women who may be feeling the same way. And I can also do it for those young girls who are watching the pageants going, I cannot do this, I'm not perfect. Because when I was in school, what was it called? Miss Congeniality came out. And I remember I just got my new braces and I'd already been subject to bullying and I just got my new braces in and my hair was frizzy and I was, you know, target. And I remember thinking, I wish I could look as perfect as her when she came out of the makeup and hair salon after she'd been made up. But actually, I went into the pageant as Gracie Lee Freebush before she got her makeover. Do you know what I mean? So I gave myself a makeup under to go in. And for me, there was something quite, what's the word? Celebratory to that, because when I was younger, I was always like, I want to do pageants. I want to do pageants. I want to look amazing. I want to, you know, but actually, I felt amazing with or without that makeup. And I felt really good about myself in my interview with the judges the second time, because I was myself. I said, look, I'm the first woman in history to ever do this. And the reason why I'm doing it is because this is bigger than me. This is bigger than the pageant. This is bigger than what I'm doing here today with you in this interview, in the judging interview. It was like, this is a movement now to support other people. Again, that whole supporting other people, using my own healing to support other people and me, to remind ourselves that we don't need these beauty products. Like you said, the beauty industry profits so much from our insecurities, and the beauty industry profits so much. You know, it's like, oh, are you aging? Is that a natural thing that you're going to do? Here, have some cream to stop. But it's like, you know what? Wrinkles, I feel like wrinkles are beautiful. I'm getting crow's feet now a little bit here on my side of my eye when I smile. And I'm like, it means I've lived. It means the wrinkles, and I've got a few grey hairs here and there. And you know what? I'm like, I'm alive. I'm a human. This is a natural cause. And you don't get told that enough. And you get this negativity around that. And when I was on the stage in my speech as well for Miss Great Britain, I said, you know, that this is not about stopping people doing what they want to do. This is saying you have a choice to do what you want to do. And through lockdown, I felt like that. I felt like I had more of a choice, but also due to the stigma, due to my past experiences with sexual assault, my choices were taken from me. I didn't choose what happened to me, unfortunately. That choice got taken from me. And the whole of my life beforehand, I blamed myself for those choices that I made. I didn't. And that was also saying to me, this is your choice to do what you want with your body. You should be able to wear whatever you want, go wherever you want to go, and not feel the danger around you of sexual assault, or, oh, this person's going to touch me, they're looking at me funny. Doesn't matter what I'm wearing. What matters is that I'm okay and I'm having, do you know what I mean? I'm having fun. And there's so much around victim blaming. You know, when it happened to me, I was victim blamed sadly by the staff at that school. Oh, what were you wearing? What were you drinking? And it was almost like, they almost made me feel like I made that choice to be in that position. It was my fault. It wasn't the guy's fault. He didn't do anything wrong. He was an A-star student. He got to stay at that school, and I got expelled because I was the problem, you know? I got expelled because I spoke out, and I tried to report, and I tried to go forward and do the right thing, and I was still scrutinized. So part of my healing journey was Miss Great Britain, going in makeup free, going, this is my choice, this is my body, this is my vessel, I'll do what I want with it. And no matter what, I'm going to be happy with that. And you know what? It was also for my own healing, of course, but it was also for other people's healing. There was a lot of women, a lot of parents, funnily enough, who said, thank you for teaching my daughter that she can do what she wants to do with her body, because there's not enough people out there doing that. And using a very controversial platform like Miss Great Britain got me heard, and using that, almost that juxtaposed sort of position of pageants, beauty pageants. You're looking, you know, you're going on, in a lot of interviews I had, because it did blow up, like a lot of people wanted to interview me, which was amazing. But a lot of the time they were like, but you went into a pageant to get judged. Like, isn't that like what? And I said, yeah, but you're talking about it now. You're talking about this situation. You're talking about it with me. So clearly I've done something to make you want to find out more. And it's not about me sat on the stage being judged by these people. It was about me standing on that stage and using it as a microphone to say, listen up, everyone. We have a problem in society at the moment. We need to sort this. And that was why I did what I did, because I wanted to just make a difference in the pageant world. And there's a lot of women that enter pageants who are just like me, who will have a story, have something to say, and they use the platform in the right way. I think the pageants themselves are still in the dark ages, but the women who are competing in them are not. And we're trying to change that status quo. And I've met so many amazing women through pageantry who are still my friends now. When I competed in 2021, I don't even like the word competed. When I took part, I don't like that word. When I took part, I was scared. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I was scared about doing it because it was something that was so out there, because so many like news agents and stuff picked it up. I was like, there's no going back now. I can't go back and change it. But at the same time, like, yeah, I was scared when I went on stage. I was, but I knew what I was doing it for, and that was what sort of charged me forward. And I did win the title I wanted as well, which was awesome. And I went away knowing that I've made that mark now in the pageant world. I've done what I could do to help other people. And then a couple of years later, other women in different pageants started doing makeup free as well. So it was like, I opened the door, the gates. So
giving people permission.
Yeah, and that's it. And it's such a simple thing, actually.
Yep.
But it was also so complex, because it was like, oh my God, you're going in a pageant with no makeup on. And where I realized that I really liked the publicity that came with it. But at the same time, I was like, why is this news? A woman doing what she wants with her body? Why are you so
funny, isn't it? But it's the courage to go first.
Yeah, that's it.
It reveals the possibility. They always talk about Roger Bannister, when no one believed anybody could run a 4-minute mile, he goes and does it, and then 2 weeks later somebody else breaks it, because he represented that it was possible. And all of a sudden people are like, oh wow, so this can happen.
And so many of the other contestants, don't like that word, so many of the other ladies who were competing, who were taking part, were like, I get this, I feel this, I appreciate you, I appreciate what you're doing. And it really helped me, because I had everyone else's support. They were all behind me for it, and that helped, because it could have been taken differently. If you went on there with an attitude like, I'm better than all of you, that was not what I wanted to say. What I wanted to say is, we are all equal, and I'm going to go on this stage as Elle, as me, as my most purest form, to help other people, like you said, realize that this is my body, I can do what I want. And it was a rebellious act, and a lot of like newsagent people said, oh, you're causing a bit of a stir. And I'm like, yeah, and it's fine, like it can be done. And as you said, other people after me are doing it now. Miss England have a round now. The first round that they ever do now with the contestants, with the people taking part, is make it free. So every single contestant has to make it free. And they're all almost an equal playing field at this point. They're all sort of bearing all kind of thing, in a way that is quite symbolic and quite powerful. And I just think we could, makeup, like I said, is a beautiful thing as well. It's art. It is.
Show me who you are.
Yeah. But there's also the other side of these people. If you're wearing makeup because you want to wear makeup for you, brilliant. But like me, I wasn't wearing makeup for me. I was wearing makeup for other people to accept me. Yes. And that wasn't cool of me, for me. I wasn't being kind to myself. And that was another reason I said, I'm going to do this as me, as Elle. And if you don't like it, there's the door.
Well, and here's the irony, right? So we're talking about, we're doing it for acceptance. The opposite side of that coin is, don't reject me. And that's where it comes to courage. So I shared something recently. I saw something said that the most worthwhile thing that we can do is the thing that has the greatest potential to break our hearts, or something like that. And that's courage. Yeah. That is courage. So you show up, and Brené Brown talks about how, it's courage because there's emotional vulnerability. Yeah. That in some way we may be ridiculed, we may be rejected, we may be, abandoned, and we don't want those things to happen. So what do? We try and fit in, we try and belong, we try and control these things so that the very thing, but it's the downside of that is it will never feel like love, acceptance, and belonging if we have to hide half of ourselves. So we're stuck. We're stuck wanting this validation from the world, but we'll never get the totality of it because it's like, I can't show you this bit about me because you won't like me.
That's it. That's exactly what I've been doing like most of my life, because I was scared of the abandonment. I was scared of not being accepted. You
and me both.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've all got these, like I said, we've all got these hang-ups, but it's just reminding people that it's okay. Like, it's okay to be you. It's okay to be me. It's okay, and yeah. And I think the
I think it's more than okay.
The weirdest,
necessary.
funniest thing is, that since I've been doing me more and I've not been this like fake entity of Elle, the people that matter the most have stuck by me. And my circle has gotten so much smaller, and that's fine. As a teenager, that would have scared the crap out of me.
Right.
Now,
right.
I'm like,
yeah,
you know
yeah,
what?
Yeah.
The people that really know me and know Elle for Elle are still here. The people that were just there because of that fake entity have gone, and that's fine. I don't need those people. I've got a different energy now. I've got a different circle around me. I've got a more pure, more relatable circle to me. And it has shown me as well who my true friends are, because the people that didn't, do you know what I mean? I think it's so important. Like young people, especially, they want to fit. Again, I keep saying it, they want to fit in. When I was younger, I wanted more friends. I wanted a big circle of people. But now I'm like, when I go out for my birthday, I'm like, a couple of mates, let's go for a drink, let's go for a cup of tea.
Deeper, meaningful connections.
And
that's it, because there's a word called cognitive dissonance, right? So when someone comes along with the courage to, you're all good. When someone comes along with the courage to go, do you know what, I'm going to do something different.
Yeah.
Well, that then throws up this cognitive dissonance, which either says she's doing something that I wish I could do.
Yeah.
I then have the ability to do the same. So I am presented with two options. I develop the courage to do that too.
Yeah.
Or I ridicule her.
100%.
Which one's easier, right?
Ridicule.
Rather than change my behavior, it's easier to ridicule. So that cognitive dissonance, I imagine as many people that you've inspired to empower, I imagine there's a whole 50% of the other side of the spectrum have gone, oh, you're absolute batshit crazy. You can't do that.
Yeah. I had someone message me when I was doing the Miss GB. Well, if you're going to do it for real, go in your pajamas, don't shave your legs, don't shave your arms.
Right.
I would love to be able to do that. Like, I would love to be able to go on stage in my pajamas. If I'm honest, I'd be more comfortable than wearing heels and a dress. And I sort of said back, because I like to respond. I sort of said back, you know what, like, this is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. For people like you who don't get it, it's not about what I'm looking like. It's about my choice to do what I want. So it was all about, it was always the symbolism.
It's not of this world.
The makeup was just a symbol, and beneath that was the choice to do what I want with my body, whether that be wear makeup, whether that be do whatever I want to do, grow my hair, cut my hair, not wear makeup. And I just think that we all have the right to choose what we do with our body. No one should tell us what to do. No one has the right to comment on our body or tell us what to do with it. And that was why I did what I did. And that was why it had such an impact, because the people that got it.
Exactly. And that includes the ability to use makeup if you want it. But sometimes you got to check in with where your desires and where your motivations are coming from. Are they coming from love, or are they coming from fear? Are they coming from fear that in absence of this makeup, maybe I'm inadequate, I'm unworthy, I'm unaccepted?
Yeah, I felt like that all the time.
Right. But my wife, she's a rock star, right? She absolutely loves sticking a big wing on. Like, she looks fierce when she's got the smoky eyes and the winged, so she uses makeup. So she'll go to the school pickup with no makeup. And she'll use it to express herself.
Well, it's an art. That's what I mean. Like, people with loads of tattoos, it's similar. They're expressing themselves. Me with my music, I'm expressing myself. And that's why I felt it was so important to say, I'm not anti-makeup at all. Like I said, it's an art, and it you can use it to express yourself. And some people, it's their signature. Like, your wife with that winged eyeliner. I couldn't do winged eyeliner to save my life. One would be up here. I admire the precision it takes to do it perfect. Do you know what I mean? And I just think that's just it's so important to voice that it's not about yes or no. It's about doing it for you and using it for the right reasons, and also enjoying it. If you don't want to wear it, don't wear it. I think there's so many women that go to workplaces that get told, I mean, I've got told it before in past workplaces, oh, you look a bit tired, you'd look better with makeup on. I'm like, you're just putting this narrative in my brain.
Whose benefit? Yeah.
And it's at their benefit. And it was just like, and like I said, I can wear it and I can't. I sometimes still do wear it, you know, I sometimes do now, but I'm wearing it for the right reasons. I'm wearing it because I want to, not because somebody else, Joe Blogs down the road, told me I looked better with it on. That's where I went wrong.
I was having a conversation with someone this morning, yesterday morning, coaching session, and it's funny how, I mean, it's really hard when it's personal and it's a relationship, because we just take that opinion from somebody else because it feels very personal. It's to us, right? But when I'm disconnected and I'm like, oh, I can just see how so many of these conversations are projections of their own beliefs.
Yeah.
Like you need to wear that makeup because you look tired. What they're actually saying is, I would feel shame or I would feel embarrassed if I looked like that.
Yeah.
Not like you, but they are projecting their own insecurity that says, I do not accept myself enough and I worry about people's opinion. And yet and this is like almost like martial arts for kind of like human beings, like almost being able to sidestep that opinion and go, I see what that's just revealed in you. I see what that's just revealed in your own beliefs and your limitations.
More in bullying as well in schools. Like now that I'm older, I realize that those bullies were just insecure in themselves, and kids will be kids. And I think the schools could do more. I think it's the adult's responsibility for those kids to do more for all of the kids, even the bullies. I think there's a reason why someone bullies someone, you know, and I think now that I'm old enough, I can accept that. Before I was so angry at them, but now I'm thinking, what were they going through at home or in their minds that they felt it was okay to talk to me like that? You know, what were their parents? Because a lot of the time, unfortunately, it is coming down the chain. And what were they being told? What were they being told about different people, different colors, different ethnicities that made them feel it was okay to ridicule me for mine? And now that I'm older, I can see that, like that in schools, especially now that the social media, there's not enough, you know, talk about it really still. I think there's still, you know, and now you're getting cyberbullying like to an extreme. You're getting, you know, filters as well on social media, like Instagram filters and stuff. Like some people, it warps your reality because you're like, I want to look like this and I don't. And that was, again, I guess another reason why I did what I did with Miss GB, because it was saying like kids as young as 5 have access to these like devices, like phones, and they're getting all this crap fed to them, like you said before, about the beauty industry, about whatever industry. You should look like this, buy this product. It's all marketing, it's all propaganda, isn't it, at the end of the day? Right. And it's just pooey. I don't want to swear, so it's just crap, because it's just like you're seeing all this happen. And I was also subject to it, you know, to make not to makeup, but to like the beauty industry itself, like flat stomach. Like when I was younger, the magazines were all flat stomachs, smaller boobs, smaller this, and that's okay to be like that, to look like that. But I starved myself and made myself sick for years to just look like that. And when people would say to me, oh, you look really good, you've lost weight, they didn't realize that actually I was at my most unhealthiest and most unhappiest when I was really slim. I was like, at one point I got to about 7 stone and I was unhappy. I was suffering. I was sad. You know, I was feeding drugs to myself, like doing some really bad stuff to my body just to look like that girl in the magazine, who also doesn't look like that girl in the magazine because it's airbrush. And I don't think people, again, it's about commenting on people's bodies, you know, whether you lose weight or put on weight, there's a reason behind it. And people shouldn't really comment on it because you don't know what someone's going through. Like if I lost, so, you know, I think there was this really cool article I saw. It wasn't cool, but it was really interesting. And it was, you know, it did wake me up a bit. And it was this woman, sadly, she had cancer. She's gotten through it now, but she had cancer. She lost weight. She went out with her friends or whatever, and they were like, oh, you look amazing. And she was like, I have cancer. I've lost weight because of that. And you don't really, you know, and people just assume again that if you lose loads of weight, you're healthy. And like I said, like similar to my story with my eating disorder, I was not healthy. I was starving myself.
This is really important. I really want
it fed my ego. It fed my ego more. Like my ego was like, oh, somebody said you were better like this. Okay,
right.
You're doing, and I ended up in hospital.
Crazy. Yeah, but this is a really important thing for people to come to.
That's the chair, not me, by the way, everyone.
All good.
Promise.
I think this is a really important point to make because, you know, and this is the difference between success in the world, whatever success means, versus who we are being whilst we're doing those things. And you've just said you were miserable whilst you were being adored by the world. Johnny Wilkinson, one of UK's, England's one of these greatest ever rugby players, recently came out on Jake Humphrey's podcast a couple of months ago, saying that when he was the best player in the world, he was at his most unhealthy mentally. He was obsessive compulsive. He was, really unwell mentally. And yet he was being adored by the world. People were looking up to him. People wanted to be him. People wanted to emulate and copy him. And many business owners that talk about having 6 and 7 figure business owners, like, well, do your kids love you? Are you healthy? Oh, before we know it, there's one guy who has been running his business 4, 5, 6 years like this, and then he has heart problems.
Yeah.
And you think, hang on a second, like the lifestyle people portray that they're having, we will never have a benchmark for whether that is truly success, truly healthy. And I guess the lesson for us all is to stop outsourcing it to everybody else.
Yeah, social media is really bad for that, because you see all these influencers on holiday, in these lavish holidays, and you're like, I can't even afford to keep my house warm. And it really, do you know what I mean? It really affects you. And I've had to really stop comparing myself to these people, going, oh, like they're out doing these cool tours around the world, and I'm someone sitting here like, like I said, just barely affording to live with the cost of living that's affected all of us. And it is that, having that strength in yourself to go, you know what, exactly that. Are they happy? Are they actually, enjoying this? Are they, and I think, again, it's all of that, as I was saying before, about the dangers of social media, this warped reality that we are living in now with our phones and our devices. We're in a digital age where only about, I would say, 15% of my life is shown on social media, and when people say to me, oh, you're doing so well, you're doing so great, they don't really know the struggles. They don't know, everybody's struggles that they're going on behind doors. Because unfortunately, we still live in a day and age where no one wants to see that on social media. If I put up a picture of me outside the BBC studios, I'm going to get loads of likes and loads of validation. If I put up a picture of me, coming out of the GP surgery because I've just gotten meds for my mental health, it's going to get less. And I think that's what people realize. People unfortunately do get like a kick out of getting all these likes and stuff on social media. And when showing the reality, because I think there are a lot of people that I know as well who are too afraid to speak their mind because they're scared they're going to lose followers. And that's a really sad place to be. I used to be like that too. I used to not post stuff because I would be like, oh, people are not going to like that, they're going to unfollow me. But now I'm like, you know what, I'd rather have 500 followers of the right people following me than whatever 10k or whatever of the wrong people following me because they think that I'm this person that I'm not. And that took time and a lot of ego testing to get to that point for me, because we do live in a digital age, and like I said, everything we put on social media has been thought out. Even any post that I put out, I'm going to put a caption and I'm going to be thinking about what I'm writing first, and it's just a human nature to do that. I get that, but at the same time I feel like social media would be such a more beautiful place if everyone just posted exactly like their hang-ups as well. And I think celebrities have a lot of duty of care to do that. I feel that there are a lot of people that are put on this pedestal as almost like they're God, because they're showing all this lavish lifestyle that they've got. They're showing like all this amazing stuff. I've just done an interview at BBC Radio 1 and all this, and you're like, you want that life because unfortunately humans, like you said, are being programmed to want success. They want the validation, they want, and you're assuming that all these people who are popular are getting all this praise. But like you said, Johnny Wilkinson, one of the most popular players, was suffering and no one knew about it because he wasn't able to speak up. And that's really sad. And I'm sure there's other people now that are still, sports people, models, musicians that are still going through that. And not even they feel brave enough to come out and speak about it just yet. We're getting better, but I feel maybe a few years down the line, we're going to be at the point where this is going to be okay to talk about on a level. All these celebrities are going to be like, yeah, I have mental health issues, and what? This is me outside the GP surgery. I've just got a consultation with my doctor for meds for mental health. That would be beautiful if we could have more of that in the world, of just reality of the people's lives, because you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. You get ridiculed for crying on social media and showing your true self, and then you get ridiculed for not doing it. And it's like middle ground. Let's just do what we want to do again. It's that choice, isn't it?
Inside out expression. Am I coming into the world as an expression of who I truly am? Do I care about the work that I'm doing? And am I doing it with people that I care about? And if I can say yes to those three things, I'm probably closer to being more fulfilled than I am if I'm looking to do those things from the outside in.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
one of the words I've got here at Always Better Than Yesterday is called Heartprint, and I think we've touched on it a few times, which is kind of this idea of the ripple effect, the legacy, the possibilities that you're creating. Have you taken time to consider what you think your heartprint will be on this world?
I feel it's such a good question, and you caught me on the spot. I feel like for me, it will be letting people know that they can be themselves, they can be different, because I was ridiculed most of my life for being different, and it affected me. And like I said, if there's someone in school right now listening to my story going, you know what, I'm different, and that's good enough, then I've done what I needed to do.
Love that. If someone's listened to this, they've been inspired by what you've said and they want to find out more about you, where should they head?
Don't do it. I'm joking. If you I'm on Instagram and not Twitter, I don't really use that. Instagram and what's the other one? Facebook. At Elle Seline. So it's Elle Seline official.
Great. I'll stick all the links in the show notes.
Please do, if you like what you heard today and you want to follow my journey, please do. And vice versa, any of my listeners who like what Ryan's doing, please follow Ryan as well.
Nice one. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Look, I really admire anyone that's just bringing their whole selves to the world, that's having the courage to do, what is difficult. It is particularly when we have our own scars, when we have our own wounds, to show them to the light.
Yeah,
to bring that to the world. But I know that when we show things to the light, it has the power to do wonderful things. And I'm a man of faith, and there's some scripture that says the thorns in our flesh, right, talks about that. Oh, it's gone blank. It basically says that the thorns in our flesh, that in our weakness we find God's full expression. And what that really means is that when we truly have the courage to look at our flaws, our weaknesses, and we come face to face with those, we can heal them, and then we can use them, or we can use that for the betterment, for the good, for the healing of many other people who need to do the same.
Amen. 100%. I agree with that 100%. And there is, as I said, I wouldn't want anyone to go through what I went through, but it's my responsibility to take that negative and convert it into something positive for someone else who may be going through what I went through at school, who's listening to me now going, I'm not alone. This has happened to someone else. I can get help, or I can speak about this. I can open up. I can, it's so important. Like, thank you again so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate your time. And I've had a really good time chatting to you today about everything that we chatted about, because it's so important to have these conversations openly and unapologetically.
Love that. Grateful for you. Be honoured if you leave us a final thought from your good self.
Again, I'm on the spot now. So my final thought is just embrace who you are, embrace those flaws, because that's what makes you perfect. Perfection is an illusion, and just go forth in the world and spread that positive message that you maybe you wanted to hear when you were younger. And just keep doing you, keep being who you are, because you matter and you're valid.
Love that. Elle, thank you so much, my friend.
No worries. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you for making it to the end of the interview here on YouTube. I hope that our time spent together has left you a little bit better than before you push play. Before you go anywhere, please leave a comment down below, some of your key reflections, your key takeaways. I love hearing from you and what this conversation has inspired in you. Let me know what you're going to do as a result of this conversation. I will be back next Wednesday, where I will share another inspiring guest. To make sure that you don't miss that, please do subscribe, hit the bell, and you will be notified as soon as it goes live. If you're curious to know how I, through Always Better Than Yesterday, can serve you, your team, your organisation, please do visit alwaysbetterthanyesterday.com, and it will be my honour and privilege to help you in any way I can. Keep leading, my friends. I've been Ryan Hartley, host of the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast here on YouTube. Always love.